Alright guys, so from Tolkien's Middle-earth to the trenches of World War I, from ancient China to a reimagined 13th century Europe, modders have transformed nearly every Total War title into something entirely new. And the best part is many of these full conversion mods are ready to play right now. Whether you're looking for a brutal historical grind, a sweeping fantasy campaign, or just something completely different from vanilla gameplay, this list is packed with experiences that rival, if not surpass, the official releases. Today, I'm going to show you the mods that I've chosen for their depth, polish, creativity, and replayability across titles from Medieval 2 to Attila, Rome Remastered to Shogun 2. Now, before we dive straight in, if you don't own any of these Total War games or their DLCs, you can pick them up right now with massive discounts on Instant Gaming. They have a great roster of games on sale like Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered, which I highly recommend, excellent game, Crusader Kings 3 Chapter 4 if you're big into medieval strategy and Chapter 4 is pretty good, and of course the entire Total War catalog, all with big discounts. So if you're thinking about buying a new game, if you want to play one of these mods but you don't own a Total War, make sure to click the link below to get your games for cheap and support the channel at the same time. Now let's get back to the video and check out the first mod on my list. Medieval Kingdoms 1212 AD Total War really needs no introduction. This is the definitive medieval experience in Total War right now. Built on the Attila engine, set in the 13th century, it offers a sprawling map of Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East filled with a staggering variety of factions and cultures. The developers have aimed for historical authenticity both visually and mechanically, creating something that feels more like a standalone Total War game. The campaign offers everything you'd want from the medieval period: crusades, religious tensions, dynastic struggles, the late feudal warfare, with over 60 factions including the Ayyubids, the Eastern Roman Empire, the Holy Roman Empire, scripts and mechanics like the papacy, the Mongol invasions, you name it. Battles in 1212 AD are intense, grounded affairs. Units are beautifully detailed with authentic armors, shields, and banners. Probably the best part of Medieval Kingdoms are the unit rosters. The pacing is deliberate with cavalry charges that feel impactful, hugely impactful, infantry engagements evolving into grinding melees. Siege Warfare 2 is a major focus, whole new siege maps built for this mod, and urban combat is far more dynamic than in vanilla Attila. Medieval Kingdoms 1212 AD has a lot more work to be done, of course, but it is a masterpiece in its current form, arguably the most in-depth medieval conversion in the modern Total War era. Now, probably the most famous and most played Lord of the Rings mod for Total War is Divide and Conquer, an expansion of the Third Age mod that significantly adds to unit rosters, maps, and lore immersion. The campaign map spans, of course, from the icy Forod Waith in the north to Harad in the south. It's packed with lore-specific regions, scripted events like the Fellowship's journey, and faction-specific narratives. Whether you're defending the White City or leading Mordor's conquests, every campaign feels rich with purpose. Battles really successfully embrace the cinematic and realistic feel of Tolkien's world. Elven archers are devastating while orcish hordes overwhelm with brute force. Dwarves hold firm like immovable walls. The unique unit designs, the voiceovers, the soundtrack, everything creates a deeply immersive battlefield experience. Honestly, Divide and Conquer is probably the gold standard for fantasy mods in Total War. It's both expansive and meticulous, offering dozens of distinct campaigns and infinite replay value. Now, next up, we have a mod that I've covered before that I absolutely love and I think is probably one of the most beloved medieval mods for Medieval 2. Sardoms Total War plunges you into the complex and turbulent world of Eastern Europe specifically, and the Balkans from the 14th to the 16th centuries. It's a deeply researched, gritty historical mod focused on regions rather than whole massive worlds and continents, often underrepresented in Total War games. The campaign centers on the political chaos and shifting alliances of the post-Eastern Roman Empire Europe, play as Serbia, Wallachia, the Ottomans, Hungary, Venice, and navigate not just military challenges but religious divisions and dynastic struggles. We've got historical figures, unique events, and one of the most accurate maps of the region, this area in Europe, ever made for Total War. On the battlefield side of things, Sardoms is truly brutal and grounded. Units feel weighty with slower animations, longer engagements. Expect lots of heavy cavalry, expensive heavy cavalry, disciplined spear lines, sudden ambushes, and mountainous terrain. Each faction's army has a distinctive flavor tied to its real-world historical strengths and weaknesses. For fans of realism and lesser-known history, Sardoms offers an incredibly rich experience, probably one of the most academically researched mods in the community, and rewards players who want depth and challenge over spectacle. Now, next up is another classic. Medieval 1100 AD transposes the Rome 2 engine into a high medieval setting, bringing together visuals that are detailed, refined mechanics, and a familiar period with a unique twist. The campaign map stretches across Europe, the Middle East, North Africa, you know the Rome 2 map, including overhauled settlements and a dynamic population system. There is a balance between historical authenticity and new mechanics as well here, with supply, with weapons and equipment, resulting in a much slower and more methodical and strategic campaign than most traditional medieval mods. Battles are also a visual feast. I mean, the mod uses custom models for knights, crossbowmen, feudal levies, all sorts of cultures get all sorts of custom-made units, and it's absolutely amazing. The AI is definitely more aggressive and mobile than in the vanilla game, leading to some tense, fluid engagements as well. Essentially, there are lots of medieval mods to play in Total War, but 1180 is probably the slowest of the bunch in terms of campaign progression, how you can strategize what region to take next, how to deal with population, disease, religion, equipment. There's a lot going on here. So if you're someone who looks for a lot slower campaigns with a lot more challenge, this is definitely for you. Next up, we have The Last Alliance. This brings Tolkien's Second Age to Shogun 2 in a full overhaul that is as beautiful as it is ambitious. Set during the War of the Last Alliance, thousands of years before the events of The Lord of the Rings, this mod lets you lead the proud High Elves, the Dunedain of Numenor, or the terrifying forces of Sauron in a struggle for the future of Middle-earth. The campaign is focused and narrative-rich, set across a sprawling custom map of Eriador, Mordor, and the surrounding lands. You'll guide legendary characters like Gil-galad, Elendil, or Sauron himself, forging alliances and battling over territory in a desperate war. Battles feel appropriately mythic. The aesthetics of each faction are stunning. Glowing blades, horned helms, and towering siege beasts make every engagement feel like a cinematic set piece from the books or the films. Last Alliance is still in active development though. Not everything is quite finished, but what is already here stands out as one of the most thematically powerful fantasy overhauls in the Total War catalog. It is a love letter to Tolkien and a masterclass in mod design. Going back to another classic here with Europa Barbarorum 2, this is the spiritual successor to one of the most beloved historical mods in the entire Total War community. While the team behind this originally debuted their first mod on Rome Total War, its sequel for Medieval 2 elevates everything: historical depth, campaign complexity, immersion, everything to a new level. The campaign map stretches from the British Isles to India, offering over 20 unique factions, each researched with scholarly rigor instead of the familiar labors like Gaul or Germany. You'll find the names, languages, and military structures these civilizations actually used. The reform systems, government types, unit recruitment chains, everything here mechanically in the campaign is super deep and demands very careful strategic planning. Battles in EB2 are better as well. They're slower, deadlier, more tactical than most Total War mods. Morale matters immensely. Each unit has strengths and weaknesses tied to its culture and region, and winning battles feels like a proper test of generalship rather than brute force. Essentially, if you're a history lover and really want to play a Total War campaign that truly respects ancient cultures in all their diversity and nuance, Europa Barbarorum 2 is simply unparalleled. Now, another favorite of mine is Ancient Empires. This is an overhaul that turns Attila into a grounded and immersive representation of the classical era. Built with a heavy emphasis on realism, it pulls players deep into the world of Rome, Carthage, and the Greek states, arguably our favorite factions in this era, and their neighbors in a mod that's as much about geopolitics as it's about warfare. The campaign starts in the 4th century BC and allows you to chart the rise of empires from Iberia to India. Diplomacy plays a major role and reforms reflect your faction's social and political development. The economy system is completely reworked in a way that is probably my favorite out of any mod in Total War, and there's a heavy focus on maintaining stability and cohesion, making the game feel much more like a grand strategy title than vanilla Attila. The unit models are some of the most realistic in the community, with intricate armor and weapons based on archaeological sources, and just generally, I think the battles here in Ancient Empires, especially with things like dust effects and other graphic overhauls that you can use here, are some of the best looking battles that you can play in the game. It's a very challenging but richly rewarding mod, perfect for those who want a more thoughtful and historically grounded take on classical antiquity, and more recently, of course, there is the updated version of the mod called Classical Empires that I highly recommend as well. Also, just a quick little side note, if you really enjoy Ancient Empires, but you're looking for something new, something fresh, but just like this in terms of gameplay and immersion for Attila, I can't recommend Age of Justinian enough, and the wider mods that the Dark Ages mod team have worked on. Age of Justinian alongside DEI MK1212 is probably my favorite mod in all of Total War in terms of historical mods, and I cannot recommend it enough if you're especially looking for something grounded, challenging, like Ancient Empires here, but just in a different era. Age of Justinian is absolutely stellar. Now, of course, speaking of Divide et Impera, that is the next mod on this list here. It's the most comprehensive and polished Rome 2 overhaul available. It completely transforms the vanilla game into something more mature, complex, historically rich, offering a huge leap in quality and scope for the game. The campaign expands and deepens nearly every system and mechanic in the game. Government types, population classes, supply lines, cultural unrest all come into play. Each faction, from the mighty Rome to smaller powers like Pontus, Numidia, feels mechanically unique. Reforms, events, and scripts ensure the campaign evolves dynamically over time as well. And of course, best of all, there are multiple campaigns available here to play. You've got the Grand Campaign, you've got the Rise of the Republic, and Empire Divided is going to be getting another overhaul next, alongside Caesar and Gaul and the other campaigns very soon as well. But on top of that, you've got custom campaigns with the Alexander campaign and the Mithridatic Wars, whole new campaigns that the team worked on from the ground up. Battles are slower and more tactical. Units don't just clash and die, they hold, maneuver, route depending on morale, fatigue, and terrain. The mod completely reworks unit stats and abilities, giving infantry staying power and cavalry decisive shock potential. Formations matter, the line cohesion is essential. DEI is essentially a complete reimagining of Rome 2, turning it into a deep and rewarding grand strategy game. If you were disappointed by Rome 2 when it first launched, and you're still disappointed by the game, this mod redeems it entirely. Now, the next one on this list is Scramble for the Far East, a total conversion mod that shifts Shogun 2 into the late 19th and early 20th centuries, covering the rise of Imperial Japan and its regional ambitions across Asia. It's one of the most underrated and probably inventive mods in the community. The campaign includes factions like Japan, King China. Yes, China is on the campaign map alongside Korea and the French and British colonial forces. It's a fascinating geopolitical setting full of industrialization, military modernization, and cultural upheaval. Railroads, foreign influence, and revolutionaries all play a role in how your campaign unfolds. Battles in Scramble for the Far East are a hybrid of traditional line infantry and transitional technology as well. You'll see bolt-action rifles, early machine guns, cavalry sabers clash in beautifully chaotic engagements. Artillery is powerful and often decisive, and urban fights feel more intense than in most Total War titles. Now, going back to Medieval 2, we have Lucium Total War. This is an alternate history overhaul mod that reimagines the world from 1700 to 1900 with a unique blend of realism and creativity. The campaign here features a world-spanning map with playable factions like Prussia, the Ottoman Empire, the Qing Dynasty, and a post-reform Japan. It includes dynamic events such as independence revolutions, civil wars, modernization paths that change how your empire operates as well. It's essentially an open sandbox where every game tells a different story. Battles in Lucium range from musket lines and bayonet charges to elite cavalry and early artillery. Units are visually distinct and tactically different, creating a fluid battlefield that mixes old world formations with new age firepower. All in all, Lucium is a very underrated, under-the-radar passion project that continues to evolve and expand. It's being updated even today, offering something fresh with every single patch. If you're a fan of 18th, 19th century history, or you've always wanted a mod that fills that gap between Empire and Napoleon, this is a hidden gem. Now, the next mod here is a legend in the Total War community. Stainless Steel, of course, was the first major overhaul to truly transform Medieval 2 into something deeper, more balanced, and vastly more replayable, and it still holds up nearly 2 decades later today. The campaign improves nearly every aspect of the base game, from adding new factions and units to overhauling diplomacy, economy, public order. There are multiple campaign setups, early, late eras, each with different dynamics. The AI is much more challenging, diplomacy matters a lot more, and events like the Mongol invasions are far more dangerous. Battles in Stainless Steel reflect the campaign, of course, in them being more tougher and more immersive as well. Morale matters, unit fatigue plays a larger role, the balance between heavy cavalry, longbows, pike formations is more refined, the visual upgrades as well, better armor textures, reworked banners, and improved effects. Everything here makes engagements more cinematic as well. Stainless Steel essentially helped define what a Total War overhaul could be. It's foundational for the community, and even with newer mods available, it remains one of the most enjoyable ways to play Medieval 2 today. Next up on the list, we've got Morning Sun, an East Asian historical overhaul for Shogun 2, expanding the map and time frame to encompass China, Korea, and Mongolia in the early modern period. The campaign shifts the focus away from just Japan, letting you play as China, Joseon, Korea, or the Mongol remnants. It introduces new technologies, reforms, and challenges such as dealing with internal rebellions or foreign threats. Battlefields are filled with a diverse range of units: Chinese bannermen, Korean turtle ships, Mongol lancers, and more. The combination of traditional melee forces with emerging gunpowder units makes for a unique combat experience. Terrain and positioning remains as crucial as ever in Shogun 2's engine. Morning Sun brings underrepresented factions and conflicts into the spotlight, which is probably where I think it shines the most. For fans of Asian history and players looking to explore new military cultures and playstyles in Shogun 2, this mod is a refreshing change of pace. Now, on the other hand though, if you're looking for a Shogun 2 mod that sticks a lot closer to vanilla, then you have to try Master of Strategy. It leans heavily into realism, immersion, and historically grounded approach to Sengoku Japan. It removes some of the game's more arcadey style elements and replaces them with systems that make you feel like a real daimyo, balancing war, politics, and economy. The campaign features overhauled building trees, a slower tech progression, a much greater emphasis on strategic planning. Food, loyalty, and money are scarce in early game, and every decision, especially warfare, feels weighty. Battles are slower and more punishing. Samurai no longer function as super soldiers, but rather as skilled fighters who still need support from Ashigaru and tactical formations. Ambushes, terrain advantages, and morale shocks are all vital tools for victory. Naval battles as well are slightly improved and better to play overall versus vanilla, with more strategic impact. Master of Strategy doesn't aim for flashy and massive overhauls here. It delivers grounded, slower paced, and more authentic Shogun 2. If that's what you're looking for, this is absolutely the mod for you. Now, next up, we have the Great War mod. This is one of the most amazing mods out there in Total War. It completely transforms Napoleon into a World War I strategy game, capturing the scale, horror, and mechanized nature of the conflict in a way no other Total War mod has ever attempted. The campaign begins on the eve of war and lets you command the great powers of the time, of course, Britain, France, Germany, Austria-Hungary, Russia, and more. You'll deal with alliances, industrial development, colonial holdings, and the political tinderbox of early 20th century Europe. Everything here has been reworked, especially the technology tree and unit recruitment systems, which are absolutely amazing and reflect the wartime arms race. Battles are completely reimagined, of course, and suited to the war. Machine guns now mow down infantry, trench lines provide cover, and tanks, clunky and rare, can break through fortified positions. Artillery is devastating and a critical part of any engagement, and the mod even simulates chemical weapons, smoke, and suppressive fire tactics. It's not a perfect engine match, I would say, but what the team accomplished with the tools available in Napoleon is extraordinary. The Great War is one of the most immersive and haunting Total War mods ever made, and a must-play for fans of modern warfare. One of the most recently developed overhaul mods that I can highly recommend here is RTR Imperium Surrectum. This is the spiritual successor to the original Rome Total Realism mod, redesigned and rebuilt for the remastered version of Rome. The campaign stretches from the rise of Rome, of course, through the Hellenistic world with a huge map that covers everything from the Iberian Peninsula to India. Each faction has a unique progression path, from reform systems to population management to lots of other mechanics here as well. On the battle side of things, the mod has emphasized realistic unit behavior and historical composition. So much research goes into each unit roster, how the gameplay flows, the dynamism of the AI, from mobile and lethal kind of formations to cavalry shock tactics that can still turn the tide if used correctly, combined with graphical upgrades, especially from the remaster. It's a stunning return to form in Rome Total War. And in fact, I would say Imperium Surrectum is what every Rome fan should try. It revives the magic of the original with modern design and depth. For anyone who loved the old days of Rome, this is a perfect blend of nostalgia and modern day improvement. Now, even though we don't have a campaign available yet for Dawnless Days, I believe it still deserves a place on this list. Dawnless Days is a Lord of the Rings mod built on the Attila engine, serving as a spiritual successor to Divide and Conquer, I would say, with a focus on the War of the Ring era. It combines high fantasy with gritty realism in both visuals and gameplay. The campaign is due to release later this year. The map spans Middle-earth from Arnor to Mordor and is packed with lore-accurate factions like Gondor, Rohan, Harad, Isengard, sub-factions as well, custom events, scripts to enhance immersion, everything. It's going to have it all, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. So when it comes out, this is absolutely the Lord of the Rings mod you have to try out. While the campaign has been in development, of course, the battles have been hugely improved. Cinematic, brutal, fantastic unit rosters, heavily armored Gondorian infantry holding the line to monstrous trolls of Mordor. Every faction feels unique. There is a great balance as well between traditional tactics and fantasy spectacle, which I love personally, and the unit design is exceptionally faithful to Tolkien's world. Dawnless Days is probably the most anticipated Total War mod in history, I would say, and has a lot riding on it. The battles are absolutely stellar, so worth getting into right now just for that. And the campaign is coming out very soon, so keeping my fingers crossed, everything goes well with that. But until then, I highly recommend you check it out. Now, if you're someone who's always been interested in a Pyonshot style Total War mod, there are two that I can recommend. The original Pyonshot Total War that is an overhaul of Napoleon Total War, and the newer Pyonshot 2 Total War overhaul that is currently in development for Shogun 2. Both of these campaigns transport the players to an age of early modern European warfare, roughly 1550 to 1650, where matchlocks and halberds dominated the battlefield, and the campaign reimagines Europe during the 30 Years' War with factions like Spain, France, Sweden, and the Holy Roman Empire. The map and the UI are reworked, custom art, music, historical events, religious upheaval, revolts, and shifting alliances. It's got everything. Next up, I want to mention the final mod here on this list for Total War Attila. It is Fireforged Empires, one of the most impressive and comprehensive overhauls ever released for the game. It's a deep, rich, and highly challenging campaign, ideally kind of focused on Rome, but other factions are very, very well playable as well. The campaign map is expansive and detailed, factions ranging from fallen empires to tribal confederacies. It's not just about conquest here, though. Economics, reforms, and even migration mechanics are very, very core to the experience. With unique government systems, battle doctrines, and internal politics, every playthrough feels new, fresh, and extremely challenging. On the battle side of things, combat is intense and punishing. Unit animations, formations, behavior are all refined and offer weighty, deliberate pace. You'll rely on defensive positions, shield walls, clever flanking, as the AI punishes mistakes ruthlessly. And essentially, Fireforged is still being updated, but what's already released here is phenomenal. It's the perfect blend of original design, historical grounding, and Total War mechanics that are pushed to their limits. Next up here, and the final mod for Medieval 2, I want to talk about Steam and Steel. This takes Medieval 2's engine and launches it headfirst into Victorian-era history. It's one of the most creative and ambitious mods around, with a deeply researched campaign that comes with over 30 playable factions and tons of brilliant custom units. We've got a campaign that starts in 1860. It bears witness to probably the greatest upheaval in history, as steam and technological advancement enabled Europeans to expand into new areas, wage war in new ways, and demand rapid political change. Battles are also spectacular, with you being able to access loads of different types of units, especially as your technology progresses into artillery and mechanized infantry and all of that. And basically, it allows you to really immerse yourself in the history of the 1860 to 1900 conflicts of the world. From a Victorian-era Total War, honestly, I would say Steam and Steel is it. It's a wild ride, a love letter to both Total War and this era of history in the best possible way. So if you're looking for something like that, I cannot recommend Steam and Steel enough. Finally, guys, the last mod on this list is for Rome 2 Total War, and it is still very much in development, but it offers a solid variety of new factions, new units, buildings, cultures, government types, and much, much more. New World is set in an alternate reality of the world where Atlantis is a playable faction, or that Troy was never taken by the Greeks and continued to thrive beyond Roman times. There are currently 3 campaigns included in the mod: the Grand Campaign, Hannibal at the Gates, and Helena in goal, each with brand new interesting factions and playstyles. The Grand Campaign, of course, is where most of the new content is, and comes with factions like the Amazonians, the Norsemen, Troy, Etruria, Atlantis, and more, but all the other campaigns are just as playable and just as brilliant. All these new factions come with a whole host of new units that look seriously insane as well. I mean, these are some of the best looking units I've played in Rome 2 Total War, from the variety of helmets, spears, uniforms, shields, colors, to how these units actually play on the battlefield, to new battle animations and formations. Everything here is honestly stunning to look at. I promise you will pause in some moments to take in the spectacle, just to immerse yourself in the units, the visuals, and what's going on. Essentially, New World is an excellent mod to try if you're looking for something fresh. If you're done with vanilla and you've played all the other mods as well, I cannot recommend it enough. From ancient empires and medieval kingdoms to colonial rebellions and alternate histories, these 20 full conversion and overhaul mods represent the absolute best of what I think the Total War community has built. They show how deep the engines can go when it's in the hands of passionate, talented creators, and they offer more variety, immersion, and tactical challenge than even most official releases. And of course, there is plenty more out there that I haven't even talked about. You know, Hellenica, Demetrios Poliarchates, I'm butchering that pronouncing every time I say it, but that's really, really good as well. You've got loads of mods for Napoleon like FCN and NTW3. You've got tons of mods out there that are really, really good. But for me personally, right now, these are the mods that I really, really cannot recommend enough. If you've ever felt like Total War needed more depth, or you just wanted to experience history and fantasy from a new angle, there's never been a better time to explore the world of Total War modding. And these are all freely available right now for you to go and play. Either way, I really hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. I really hope I said at least one mod here that either you hadn't heard before or you heard but you hadn't really considered. I really hope that. If I did, give the video a like, drop any thoughts or questions in the comments section below. I'm happy to help where I can, and let me know what you think about this list and what your personal best conversion mods list is for Total War. Subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this, and thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.